Okay, hi guys. Today we're actually going to be breaking down Joe Biden's budget that tried to pass. Now, obviously, like the majority of the time, this is not going to get passed. Obviously, it's not going to get passed. We never thought that it was going to get passed because every single time a president tries to sign a budget on their year of leaving, but we are still going to cover it here. So, starting with a Axios article, we actually have Biden's big plans. Wields new budget to stay on offense post State of the Union. Joe Biden will use his budget proposal for fiscal year 2025 to double down on tax increases for the wealthiest Americans and large corporations to provide tax breaks for families and lower the deficit, administration officials say. Why it matters. After the State of Union address that quelled Democrats' fears about his age, I don't think that it actually did at all because of the fact that you can actually see that he was screaming, "Ugh, that's him on the whole entire State of the Union. It was so annoying. Biden wants to keep up his momentum going by staying on the offense and making the State of the Union month by sharply contrasting his approach with that of a congressional Republican. So it's actually a lot of a difference because of the fact that Joe Biden wants to kill babies. He wants to actually spend. He doesn't want to drill. He wants to shut down all of the actual manufacturers in America because he says that it's cheaper in China anyway, so you might as well just go over there. He does not want us to actually produce ourselves and rely on America first, and he wants to actually tax the hell out of the wealthiest people that is actually providing the jobs that us, the people, rely on. So, of course, they should get a tax break so they wouldn't leave America and go somewhere else. That's exactly why we should cut the wealthiest people a tax break. Not only that, but also the corporations so they have an incentive to stay here because it's a lot cheaper if they move to China. Okay, I already read that. And another shot across the GOP's bow, he will accuse Republicans of doing the bidding of their pharmaceutical companies, which does not make any sense because for the longest time, Republicans have been saying not to get the shot. So it doesn't make any sense. Driving the news, Biden will send Congress his budget at noon on Monday, filling out the details of his populist economic agenda he's been previewing for months. His campaign will blanket the airwaves with $30 million in ad buys, including a direct-to-camera ad in which Biden says, "Look, I'm not a young guy. That's no secret. But here's the deal. I understand how to get things done for the American people." No, you don't, because what you did do is undo all of the actual good stuff that Trump put into effect and actually was helping America, putting America first for once. The drug problem that we had, Trump fixed. The economic problem that we had, Trump fixed. The stock problem that we had, Trump fixed. The wall, the border, the immigration problem, fixed. The foreign policy, 4 years, no wars, fixed. The actual deal with Israel, fixed. So Israel was going to come to a deal, and this war would have never happened if Trump would have continued, and if it wasn't for Joe Biden. It's sad. Biden will hit 3 states this week with campaign events in New Hampshire, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Reality check. Like most presidential budgets, Biden stands very little chance of becoming law. Biden stands a very low chance of it becoming law, but it gives him an opportunity to find the coming debate over how to grow the economy and boost the middle class on his terms, though. What we're hearing, as in his previous budgets, Biden will call for higher taxes on the wealthiest Americans and large corporations with a goal of reducing the deficit by $3 trillion over the next 10 years. He will also reaffirm his support for Social Security and Medicare, which he has accused Republicans of wanting to cut. No, it's not wanting to cut. It's needing to cut. It's because it's going to go bankrupt. It's not like you put into the system, and this is what so annoys me about Social Security and Medicare. You put into your life, or you put into the slush fund, your quote unquote all of your life. Let's just say that you put in $1,000 a year, your whole entire life. You would be getting $1,000 per month on Social Security and Medicare. That's not what you're putting in the system. It's not a box with your name on it, with an envelope with your money that you gave them. That's not how it works. It's your money that you're paying right now, the money that I'm paying right now out of my paycheck. I am paying my grandparents Medicare and Medicaid. That's what I'm paying out of my Social Security and Medicare. I'm never going to see that money I'm paying again. The system's going to go bankrupt right now. Only 98% of the people that are on Social Security and Medicare can actually get it covered under the current benefits of the program. The rest of the 2%, they're still getting Social Security and Medicare benefits, but at the same exact time, they're going and asking daddy government to cover the cost for them because Social Security and Medicare does not have the funds. That's exactly what's happening here. So if we keep going down to from 98% to 96%, 94%, 92%, 90%, 98%, so on and so forth, that's going to have an impact on our overall budget, our overall debt. And it's not good. It's not good to add to the debt because of our maintaining of the debt process, our interest that we're paying on the debt to maintain it is just disgusting. The president's vision of process, opportunity, and fairness stands in sharp contrast to the congressional Republicans' repeated attempts to slash critical programs to the American people that the American people count on, an administration official said. Last year, Biden proposed a $6.8 trillion budget that included a new billionaire tax that will force them to pay at least 25% on their income. But newsflash again, billionaires at least pay 25%. At most, they would pay 40%. And in some states like California, they pay 50%. So this 25% is a mere nickel of what they actually pay. Annual deficits have exploded during the Trump and Biden administrations as both presidents convinced Congress to pass big spending packages to help the country go through COVID-19. During the last 3 years, the national debt has risen from $27.8 trillion to $34.4 trillion. The increase in interest rates have made servicing the debt more expensive. Interest payments will total $870 billion in fiscal 2024, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Biden likes to claim that he has already reduced annual deficits, including in last week's State of the Union, when he said, quote, "We already cut the federal deficit by over $1 trillion. This is a fact check here. The federal deficit did drop from $2.8 trillion in fiscal 2021 to $1.4 trillion in fiscal 2022. That was largely because pandemic stimulus and spending ended. In fiscal 2023, the deficit climbed back up with the federal government spending $1.7 trillion more than it collected in revenue, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Independent fact checkers have called the Biden deficit reduction claims half true, which means that it's not true, and if it was a Republican saying this, then it would be fully not true, or a tin hat conspiracy level untrue. That's exactly what independent fact checkers would say because these people are a joke. I realize that, but I will quote it when it actually proves my point. So, with that being said, we do have a full Media's Takes segment, so let's get right into that. So starting off with the Media's Takes, we actually have a CNN article. We have 2 soldiers and Border Patrol agent was killed in United States military helicopter crash near southern border. Now, this is a devastating event that took place. If you did see footage of it, it's actually a quite disturbing situation, and I don't exactly know what happened. So, United States military helicopter crashed on Friday afternoon near the southern border, killing 2 soldiers and a United States Border Patrol agent, according to a statement from the military. Another soldier was injured in an incident. Quote, "We are heartbroken by the devastating loss of Border Patrol agent Chris Luna, as well as National Guard Chief Warrant Officer 2, Casey Franskoski, and Chief Warrant Officer 2, John Garcia. In Friday's helicopter crash near Rio Grande City, Texas, United States Customs and Border Protection said in a statement. The UH-72 Lacoma helicopter assigned to the Federal Southwest Border Support Mission was conducting an aviation operations near the Rio Grande City, Texas. The military statement said, the cause of the crash is still under investigation. The helicopter was following migrants before it crashed in an open field, Starr County Judge Eloy Viria told CNN. A person in critical condition was sent to McAllen Medical Center in McAllen, Texas, Viera said. County officials were waiting on federal authorities to get to town so they can start the investigation, he added. CNN has reached out to the hospital for additional information. Joe Biden had said in a statement on Saturday that his deepest condolences are with the family of the 2 National Guardsmen and the United States Border Patrol agent who were killed. But he can't say that about the 13 people that were killed in Afghanistan. That's a little disappointing. And CNN is not going to admit that because CNN is just a front for the Biden administration at this point. The Clinton News Network has never failed Joe Biden. Moving with another CNN article, we actually have a facts first article. We have fact check. Haley falsely claims that Biden calls everyone who doesn't support him a fascist. But this is exactly what they do. That's exactly what Joe Biden does. You're a fascist, you're a racist, you're a homophobe, all of the buzzwords to make you scared so you can just get off his tail. Republican presidential candidate or former presidential candidate Nikki Haley falsely claimed on Saturday that President Joe Biden refers to anyone who doesn't support him as fascist. Haley sought up to lump Biden and former President Donald Trump, who pledged in a speech last fall to root out the communists, Marxists, and fascists and radical left thugs that live like vermin within our confines of our country and lie and steal and cheat on elections, and went on to say that the real threat is from the radical left. She told reporters in South Carolina, think about it. Of the two main candidates that you're talking about, Joe Biden refers to anyone who doesn't support him as fascist. Donald Trump refers to anybody that does not support him as vermin. I call everybody who supports me or doesn't support me Americans. I don't know though. Like, they're going to try to protect Joe Biden. I don't know if that's completely true what Nikki Haley said, but I do know that the left likes to name call all the time with the anti-Semite or the racist or the thisist or the thatist or this or thisist or thatist and this and then it's just annoying. Shut up. Listen, if you cannot have a debate with somebody and you're just going to call each other names the whole entire time, go back to kindergarten, because maybe you can get called a poopy head if you say that someone smells like farts. I mean, it's just completely beyond me why we can't have a discussion in the year 2024 instead of just calling each other this, or that, and blah, 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 blah. It's annoying. So, moving into the next article, we actually have an MSNBC article. We have Trump's tariff push undermines his arguments about high prices. It really doesn't, because it makes sure that America stands first. If he puts a tariff on China, that means that America can have the opportunity to actually compete with China in the open market. But of course, China has these policies at which they allow their workers to be taken advantage of by the companies within China. So the companies in China can make all of the money, and the people that are actually making the equipment in the factories and the sweatshops in China don't get paid a 1 penny, or they do get literally paid a penny. And then what happens is they have no money. And then everybody was like, well, why do you make no money? It's because they don't get paid anything in China. That's why everything's so cheap from China. Go on AliExpress or Alibaba. Everything's dirt cheap. It's straight from the sweatshop itself. Jimmy Kimmel jokes about, okay, well, this should be known that we're going to be taking a look at another article we actually have, and that's from the Daily Wire. This is an entertainment article, but this is Jimmy Kimmel jokes about Robert Downey Jr.'s past drug addiction during Oscars. Jimmy Kimmel used part of his Oscars monologue to make wise cracks about Robert Downey Jr.'s substance abuse issues 20 years ago. The late-night host set up by joking that Oppenheimer director Christopher Nolan didn't have internet connection, so his porn addiction wouldn't distract him while working. Congratulations to Cillian Murphy's co-star Robert Downey Jr. This is the highest point of Robert Downey Jr.'s career, Kimmel said. He paused and said, well, one of his highest points. Jimmy Kimmel is just not funny. So if this was a joke, it didn't stick. If it was meant to be more serious, then you can't play clown nose on, clown nose off as a comedian. It doesn't make any sense here. The 58-year-old actor smiled at first and then tapped his nose at the audience, laughing along. The actor's Oppenheimer co-star Emily Blunt reached across to grab Downey Jr.'s shoulders to show support as he kept a tight smile on his face. Kimmel responded to the nose tap gesture saying, was that too on the nose? Or was the drug motion you made? Or was that the drug motion you made? Yeah, that's just too far. That's just not even funny at this point. It's just talking shit. And then they're going to wonder when somebody goes on stage and slaps somebody. Doesn't make any sense. RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., then made a swirling motion, insisting that the host should wrap it up and mouth, keep it going, as the camera stayed focused on him for several more seconds. Kimmel followed with another joke. Look at this guy. He's so handsome. He's so talented. He's won every award there is to win. Is there even an acceptance speech in your pocket, or do you have a very rectangular, Like I said, Jimmy Kimmel is not funny. This is just uncomfortable. Continuing with the article, not even 20 years ago, things were going that great for Robert He played the villain in, correct me if I'm wrong, in a movie where Tim Allen turns into a dog. At this point, Downey Jr. just looks annoyed. If you ever decide to remake the film, I have just the guy to play it, Tim Allen. The Oscars host continued as the camera panned to the dog, Messi, from Anatomy of a Fall. Messi has an overdose scene, and if you've seen it, you know it's incredible, Kimmel said. Downey Jr. won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in Oppenheimer. This was his first Academy Award win and the third nomination. The actor previously spent time in jail in 1999 on drug-related charges and several infamous public mishaps during the height of his addiction struggles. Robert Downey Jr. has been sober since 2003. Yeah, so I love how Jimmy Kimmel is just on his high horse over here, but he's the one that wore blackface multiple times. So yeah, I mean, of course, they're just going to pin you down for your addiction. They're never gonna celebrate you when you overcome your addiction. But you know somebody else that is in the news lately, and that's Madonna. Madonna has been in the news lately so many times, and it's because she just keeps doing stupid stuff. It just does not make any sense to me on why she keeps doing stupid stuff. She's old. She should not be touring. She's losing her mind. She looks like Saw. It just doesn't make any sense here. What are you trying to do? And she's trying to look good by dressing in this like cop outfit. It's not working out. So of course she's singing. She's like, everybody stand up for me. Stand up for me. Stand up for me. And then everybody stands up for her. And then there's one person in the wheelchair and she's like, stand up. Stand up. And the person's like, I'm in a wheelchair. And she's like, oh, that's culturally insensitive. I'm so sorry about that.
What are you doing sitting down? Oh, okay. Politically incorrect. Sorry about that. I'm glad you're here. Oh my God.
Okay, and then she just continues as if nothing even happened. I mean, a lot of people are saying, I don't even know why this is story. She realized her mistake. Okay, but why do you even care what people are doing at your concert? Just sing. People came here for you to sing. Stop talking and sing. We're paying you to sing. Sing. Stop saying, ooh, stand up everybody, stand up. Stop worrying about everybody else and sing. That's all you need to do. That's all we get paid. That's all you get paid to do is sing. Stop saying, oh, what's this one doing? What's that one doing? Unless there's a fight, keep singing. That's all we need you to do. We don't need you to say, oh, so I had this dream last night that I was like a unicorn and then blah, 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 blah. Stop talking and start singing. So everybody's freaking out about that. It's like if somebody comes over and let's just say if somebody what's a good example of this? It's like if this was done on the left. This is the story. They're defended to the high heavens. It's like, leave them alone. It's okay. It's okay. And then somebody on the right does it. Oh my God, how dare you do that? Imagine if Trump did that, and this is what's going to be on the gravestone of conservatism. Imagine if this was on the other side. If this was a country singer, or if this was a Trump rally, or this was Trump Jr., or anybody on the right did this. That's not the reaction that you would get in the mainstream. You would just get, how dare you do that? Like, you should just assume that it's a person in the wheelchair. Like, stop assuming. Like, everything that I'm saying, the left would say an attack of anybody on the right. So the fact that they're protecting her is just because she's on the left. Before we move into the Breitbart article and start talking about NATO and all of the countries that need to actually put up the spending on the GDP compared to the military, before we talk about all of that information, we must first talk about our sponsor of today's show, which is shop.originstudios.com. You can actually use code Dimitri for 15% off and free shipping everywhere in America. We have things like this, and we have tumblers, we have sweaters, we have shirts, we have everything that you need and more available at shop.originstudios.com. So with that being said, we do have another Breitbart article where Poland calls on NATO allies to raise defense spending to 3% of GDP. Now, it's very, very important. We have a little look back on why Trump was so great when it came to NATO, because of the fact that he forced everybody to actually pay their NATO dues. He made everybody pay all of the fees associated with being part of NATO, and then if they did not want to pay to be part of NATO, then he said, nope, you're not part of NATO then. And then what ends up happening is that they're like, oh, well, what if I'm attacked and I don't, well, you don't get the privilege of being protected by NATO if you don't pay the NATO due. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, when have you ever did not pay for Apple Music and Apple gave you Apple Music? It does not make any sense. But it's so funny because he says that Trump said that the other states should be, or the other countries should be stepping it up to at least the 3, well, Poland's saying 3% now, but Trump said they should at least be paying the 2%. And then all of the countries pay it because he went and threatened them. But there's a lot of countries that aren't, like Luxembourg, Belgium, Spain, Turkey, Slovenia, Canada, Italy, Portugal, Czech Republic, Germany, Denmark, Norway, Netherlands, Albania, Croatia, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and France all are under the 2%. But Poland wants everybody to be at least at 3%, which means that Greece, United States, and Poland would be the only people that are actually at that rate. So yeah, it's a very sad situation that a lot of the countries don't care about their military spending whatsoever. That's because of the fact that they're not even at the 2%. So it doesn't make a lot of sense here. Like I said, Trump was the best when it came to that aspect because of the fact that he actually said, no, you're going to be paying your yearly dues or else you're going to not be supported by NATO. It was that simple when it came to Trump, I should say. So with that being said, we're going to be digging into our next article, which is a Federalist article. Moving with the article, we do have a Federalist article. We have Liz Cheney, January 6th committee suppressed exonerating evidence of Trump's push for National Guard. Now, of course, Liz Cheney and the rest of the J6 community had no incentive to actually tell the truth whatsoever. That's because of the fact that they had a motive. They had or quote unquote motive. They had a person. They had a target. That's it. That's exactly why they wanted to target Trump. It's because it was going to be a political narrative for them this year in this upcoming election. That's exactly why they wanted to try to prosecute him then. But just like every other committee, nothing ends up happening. And the media said, we're going to get him now. We're going to get him now. Oh, guys, we're going to get him now. It's not happening. When's it going to happen? I guess during one of these political 91 charges that you're putting against Trump, I guess that's when it's going to happen. But other than that, this January 6th committee failed. I mean, it failed us, the people, by telling us the lies about January 6th. So, moving with the article here, we have Cheney and her committee falsely claimed they had, quote, no evidence to support Trump officials' claims that the White House has asked for 10,000 National Guard troops. Former Rep. Liz Cheney on January 6th committee suppressed evidence that Donald Trump pushed for 10,000 National Guard troops to protect the nation's capital. A previously hidden transcript obtained by the Federalist shows Cheney and her committee falsely claimed that they had no evidence to support Trump's claims. In fact, an early transcribed interview conducted by the National Committee included precisely that evidence for a key source. The interview, which Cheney attended and personally participated in, was suppressed from view from public release until now. Deputy Chief of Staff Artino's first transcribed interview with the committee was conducted on January 28, 2022. In it, he told Cheney and her investigators that he overheard White House Chief of Staff, or White House Chief, Mark Meadows, push Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser to request as many National Guard troops as she needed to protect the city. He also testified President Trump had suggested 10,000 would be needed to keep the peace at the public rallies and protests scheduled for January 6, 2021. Ornetto also described White House frustration with Acting Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller's slow department of assistance on the afternoon of January 6, 2021. Not only did the committee not accurately categorize the interview, they suppressed the transcript from public view. On top of that, committee allies began pushing critical stories and even conspiracy theories about Ornetto ahead of the follow-up interviews with them. Ornetto was a career Secret Service official who has been detailed to the security position in the White House. Cheney frequently points skeptics of her investigation to the government publishing office website that she posted. She said transcripts, documents, exhibits, and our maliciously sourced 800-plus page final report. That website provides supporting documents to the claims made by Cheney and follow anti-Trump enthusiasts. However, transcripts of fewer than half of the 1,000 interviews the committee claims it conducted and posted on the site It is unclear how many of the hidden transcripts include exonerating information suppressed by the committee. Those documents support the committee's narrative rather than the truth of the events leading up to the January 6, 2021, said Rep. Barry Loudermilk, chairman of the House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight. The former January 6 Select Committee apparently withheld Mr. Orno's critical witness testimony from the American people because it contradicted their predetermined narrative. Mr. Orno's testimony proves that Mr. Meadows has been saying from a long time. President Trump did in fact offer 10,000 National Guard troops to secure the United States Capitol, which was turned down, said the Georgia Republican. His subcommittee is reviewing the work of the January 6th committee, which he's been accused of other unethical behavior at the expense of the accuracy, as well as the collusion with other Democrat efforts to prosecute political opponents. This is just one example of important information the former select committee had hid from the public because it contradicted what they wanted the American people to believe, Loudermilk said. And this is exactly why my investigation is committed to uncovering all of the facts no matter the outcome. Early collaboration for a contested claim. A January 6 committee staffer asked Ornetto, when it comes to the National Guard statement about having 10,000 troops or another number of troops, do you recall any discussion prior to January 6 about whether and how many National Guard troops to deploy on January 6? Ornetto surprised the committee by nothing. Ornetto surprised the committee by noting that he did recall a conversation between Meadows and Bowser. Quote, he was on the phone with her and wanted to make sure that she had everything that she needed, Ornetto told investigators. Ornetto said White House concerns about January 6 were related to fears that left-wing groups would clash with Trump supporters and that no one in the White House anticipated a riot at the Capitol. Antifa and other left-wing groups were planning protests the same day. Left-wing groups had been involved in violent assaults on Trump supporters following the public protests. Meadows wanted to know if she needed any more guardsmen. Ornetto testified, quote, and I remember the number of 10,000 coming up of, the president wants to make sure that you have enough. He is willing to ask for 10,000. I remember that number. Now that you say it, it reminded me of it, and that she was all set. She had it. I think it was like 350 or so for intersection control, and those types of things not in the law enforcement captivity at the time. Ornetto was correct. Bowser declines the offer, asking for a few hundred National Guard and requiring them to serve in a very limited capacity. No DNCG personnel should be armed during the mission, and at no time will DCNG personnel or assets be engaged in domestic surveillance, searches, or seizures of United States persons. Bowser wrote in her letter requesting DC National Guard. Bowser has been a strategic critic of Republican efforts to limit rioting from left-wing political activists in the United States cities during the 2020 summer of violence. Bowser's decision to decline help from the White House did not end the Trump team's effort to secure troops ahead of the protest. When the D.C. mayor declined Trump's offer of 10,000 troops, Ornetto said that the White House requested a quick reaction force out of the Defense Department in the case it was needed. Quote, the only thing I remember with the DOD and the National Guard was even though the mayor didn't want any more National Guard in D.C., that request was made of a lack of a better term, a quick reaction force out of a joint base Andrews, being that it was a military installation. Ornetto told investigators in the previously concealed interview, quote, I remember Chief Meadows talking to DOD about that. I believe I remember Chief Meadows letting me know that, hey, there are going to be National Guard there, going to be at the Joint Base Andrews, in case they're going to need if they're going to need some more. The mayor would need any. We're going to make sure they're out of here. Meadows was concerned that DC would be unprepared for the size of the crowd coming to the protest of the controversial 2020 election, in which hundreds of laws and processes were changed to enable tens of millions of unsurveilled mail-in ballots to flood the country. Okay, so, we already know all this. So the thing is, at the same exact time, right? The thing is, we needed security that day. We needed more security. We should have tripled up on security. I saw that almost all of the security at the White House, the Capitol Police, were told to stand down. We have the National Guard told to stand down. We only have 100 cops there. There was thousands and thousands of people. It was crazy. So yeah, there should have been more security. It was a setup. And everybody that went there just fell right into the setup because you were on emotion. I was on emotion. I almost went to the Capitol on January 6th. But the thing is, good thing I didn't in hindsight, because I was like, I believe what they're saying, but at the same exact time, should I go and put myself in that predicament? And it was a good thing that I didn't, because then they were going and investigating everybody that actually went there. Of course, I mean, in hindsight, it should have never happened that day. But of course, some peaceful people that went just into the Capitol, just going because of the fact that police officers were telling them to go, which I did show footage of this event taking place. They were then arrested afterwards. So it's a lose-lose situation. Police officers tell you to go in the Capitol, you go in the Capitol, and then you get arrested. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. Okay, moving into the next article, we actually have a Federalist article. We have Biden should apologize to Americans for his open border, not the killers who crossed it. So President Joe Biden had a chance this week to apologize to Laken Riley's family and the millions of other Americans victimized by the border invasion, and he incentivized. Instead, the Democrat apologized for referring to Riley's alleged murderer, a native Venezuelan with a criminal history, as illegal during his State of the Union address last Thursday. It would have been politically advantageous for Biden, whose disapproval rating reached another record high last week, or I should say a record low, to use his sit-down with MSNBC over the weekend to his own illegal verbiage and apologize to the late Georgia college student's family for incorrectly referring to her as Lincoln Riley, rather than beg for forgiveness for the people in the for his border crisis and what it has caused. Biden kowtowed to Democrats and their allies in the corporate media and demonized the word of illegal to describe foreigners who illicitly cross the United States-Mexico border. And this is exactly what they say here. During your response to Marjorie Taylor Greene's heckling of you, you used the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley. Biden said, undocumented person. I shouldn't have used the word illegal. It's undocumented. Like, damn, how old are you? Like, why are you going to sit here and get offended about a word? It's illegal. 100%. It's illegal because of the fact that it's illegal. You broke the law to come in here. You killed United States citizens. We should have zero remorse for how we call you. We can call you a scrub for all I care, a lowlife, a pathetic excuse for a human, which all apply under this case because of the fact that you killed somebody else. It's disgusting. Moving with the article, Capehart's question was clearly aimed at eliciting an exploration from Biden that would state the people running the public backlash campaign against him for using forbidden terminology from the podium during his most important speech of the year. Biden gladly complied. Quote, when I spoke about the difference between Trump and me, one of the things I talked about was about on the border was the way that he talks about vermin, the way he talks about these people polluting the blood. I talked about what I'm not going to do and what I won't do. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country. The reason our economy is growing, Biden said. This is just disgusting because they did not build the country. Our forefathers built the country. So what does that even mean? Capehart, still unsatisfied with Biden's groveling, asked point blank whether you regret using that word. Biden said yes. Moving with the article, there's no doubt that Biden is to blame for the increasing number of irritable crimes by foreigners who cross the open border with his blessing. It's under Biden's rollback of border security, vetting, and punishment that illegal border crossers like Riley's murderer are entering the United States and committing crimes that cost Americans time, money, and in cases like Riley's, lives. Biden isn't sorry for any of it. If it wasn't abruptly clear that when the president apologized for classifying the illegal border crosser as a legal border crosser, it was certainly clear when he claimed foreigners like alleged murderer Jose Aburria built the country and are the reason our economy is growing. Aburria was previously arrested for reckless endangerment of a child and acting in a manner injurious to a child. Thanks to Democrats' policies, however, he quickly bonded out and fled to a country that bans law enforcement from asking about immigration status and even offers illegal border crossers legal aid. It was there that he allegedly kidnapped and murdered a promising young woman by bashing her head. Illegal border crossers with criminal histories or intentions like Abura aren't making our nation better or growing our economy. They are endangering our cities and stealing our livelihoods. Any effort by Biden and the Democrats to suggest Riley's alleged murderer deserves no disrespect and an insulting information operation designed to undermine Americans' true feelings and frustrations about the ongoing border invasion. Americans and Riley's family deserve an apology, but Biden and Democrats will do nothing, including apologizing and paying respect for foreign murderer to avoid giving it. Yeah, and I completely agree here, because they would rather apologize for a term that they called a person that killed our American taxpayer or American citizens than to actually apologize to the American citizens. It's disgusting. Moving on to the next article, we actually have another Federalist article. This is actually the last article here. Transgender activists say that your kids have a, quote, right to carve their bodies. So, the latest cover of New York Magazine is clear. The transgender movement is coming for your kids and not trying to hide it. If you pay attention to transgender debate, it's been obvious for a while now that the transgender movement is invested in children. The spectator of state lawmakers or even parents hindering or discouraging children from transitioning seems to haunt trans activists who view recent political efforts to ban so-called gender-affirming care in some states as the worst sort of tyranny. Children, in their view, have the right to transition, and any obstacle placed in their way, even by parents, is a gross injustice carrying out for a redress. Up until recently, this argument was simmering just below the surface of the transgender discourse in America. It was a subtext first of the bathroom debate, then the debate over girl sports, then the debate over the role of teachers in public schools, playing in transgender and transing kids socially without informing parents, and then finally state laws restricting transgender surgeries, puberty blockers, and other treatments for minors. In each case, the unstated argument was that the minors who believe that they are trans should be allowed to transition socially and medically, and no one, not even their parents, should have the right to stop them. Now, the argument is out in the open, declared in the bold black letters against a blood-red field on the latest cover of New York Magazine, Freedom of Sex, and the moral case for letting trans kids change their bodies. The author of the piece is a man named Andrea Long Chu, the magazine's prize-winning literary critic and self-identified lesbian trans woman who, by his own admission, was persuaded by a particular gender identity after becoming addicted to porn, specifically to something called sissy porn, which encourages men to feminize and sexually humiliate themselves, which is just disgusting. Chu has probably done more than anyone else in the recent years to mainstream transgenderism, mostly through his 2019 book, Females, which chronicles his dark obsession with this kind of videos. I won't quote it here, but suffice to say, it makes for an unpleasant reading, even in small experts. To you, a sense of this person, he was amply described by Peachy Keenan on Twitter this week as a radical trans activist who is an obese man who now calls himself a lesbian and has a neo cutout. What better spokesperson than for the idea of that children should be allowed to undergo an array of surgical procedures and drug therapies, even against their parents' wishes or without their knowledge. Chu's argument relies on holding up bizarre anecdotes and medical anomalies as a normative, and quoting radical gender theorists from the 1970s. The essay itself is weighed down with intentional opaque academic jargon of gender studies, which makes reading it an unhappy chore. So I'll save you the trouble. His main point is that we need to jettison the idea that youth transgenderism is something that can be diagnosed by medical experts, that it requires one to meet any sort of criteria, and it even has a cause. It's simply the fact of modern life, and we all must accept it. Yeah, no, this is just stupid. Of course, they're trying to push this idea now because this is just the first thing that they're going to push, and then they're going to push the right for children to have sex with whoever they want, and then adults come in and try to. That's the path that they're trying to go down. This it's just a very disgusting path, and you can see it from a mile away. But of course, some of the squish conservatives on the right are just allowing it to happen because they're like, it's okay. It's your right. It's not really bothering other people. Yeah, it is bothering other people because we live in society together. You don't live in society alone. So when you have this idea, then other people have this idea, and then teachers have this idea, and then it goes to children, and then children, are the kids of the people that disagree with this, and then now you have to put up with it just because your child was told something that is factually untrue. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and we will end off this episode here. If you did enjoy this episode and you do want to see more, please like and subscribe down below because I do post new episodes of the show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. Bye.